How old are you? Maybe a few decades old. But stories are more than 5,000 years old. No wonder they always connect with people. When you're writing stories for a fictional context, like for movies or a novel, it's pretty straightforward. We understand how should we go about. There are structures, outlines, methods in place. But stories do not just connect with people when we are telling stories, but they are also a great way to connect with people when we are talking about our business. But how do we tell stories in business? That's one area which is a little tricky here because there are no standard guidelines available on how to tell stories about your businesses. So, what should we do? Well, let me give you a few steps today that will create a foundation for you to be able to create a story for your audiences, for your business. First, let us understand how business storytelling is different from other storytelling methods. First thing is that in normal story you have characters, and here in a business story you have characters, but they're not directly visible. They could be involved as users, they could be involved as systems, but they're not direct, which means you don't have the freedom to put in a dialogue or a description about these characters. Second major difference is that a normal story has the freedom to take you anywhere, but business stories are always and always driven by a problem solution approach. It has to end with a solution, it has to start with a problem. These are two major differences between normal storytelling and business storytelling. But there are more. Just going to tell you a few here. Now, how do we start about telling stories for our business? The first step is we must understand this. Even if we are talking about a technical thing like a product, like IT product, we are ultimately talking to people who are the part of your story, which means it is very important for you to understand who's going to be your reader, or rather, who's going to be your user, who's going to be a decision maker, and who's going to be a facilitator or influencer. So in business, there is not one person who would be taking a decision. Sometimes, especially when you're telling a B2B story, there will be one person who will be reviewing whatever you're selling and deciding if it's good enough to be bought. At the next level, there will be a decision maker. And between the decision maker and this person who is reviewing your products, there will be a facilitator or influencer who will recommend, okay, your product is really nice or your service is really good and you must take it. There are multiple stakeholders. These stakeholders are the ones who are the characters of your story. While you're telling the story, you cannot obviously tell the story of the person you don't even know, but you can always create a persona about a typical client and the user specifically, what kind of challenges they could be facing. Suppose you're telling a story in the form of a case study. Then you already have a few characters who you have dealt with. You can use them in your story and tell that to the world. So always start with some problem that not systems but people have been going through. After that, you show what kind of problem they were facing, how difficult it was before you joined hands with them, and then come up with a solution. This is how we tell business stories. Maybe it will sound easy to you if you have an experience of doing storytelling, but if you really want to understand how exactly the storytelling thing works in business, why don't you join our GWA Mega Learning Drive, and I'll tell you how business stories are told, and I also have some more experts from across globe who could be guiding you in different areas: creative storytelling, storytelling as a creator, and storytelling in business.